And we're on. How's it going?
It's all good. It's all good. This is episode 2, isn't it, of the Transformation podcast?
Yeah, I
Didn't
know.
think far.
Just talking about your Jim King hoodie, your jumper. So
Yeah,
I think it's quite fair, but I mean,
like
there's certain people I know. Slate, so,
yeah. How have you been?
yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I mean, I think it's like hopefully we don't go into another lockdown. That's my hope.
Yeah, there are rumors of that. To be fair,
Southern
but
Korea.
just a quick disclaimer: if anyone's ever in France, never buy. Wait a sec. Aperna protein.
What is that?
It is the most vile thing you will
That
ever put down.
that stinks of. I don't even want to say. Those brands stink of tainted.
It is
tainted chocolate.
disgusting.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick to my protein, and I'm not even sponsored by them. Yet, okay. My protein. If you're watching, if you're watching, yeah, not stringing me along. Yeah, I had them in my DMs for a bit. I was quite excited.
What's that?
My protein.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I messaged them. They gave me a nice response. So
really, tell more.
No, I'll tell you on camera.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So, do you want to dive into our first topic then?
Yeah, can do.
Cool. So, stop flexing. By the way, it's off-putting. Stop.
Besides me, I put on like I don't know, since came out from uni, I put on like 5 kilograms, and my body fat percent. Yeah, no, but my body fat percent is still low, and I think it's just because I've been doing less cardio.
Fair enough. Right. Anyway, before we get too sidetracked,
self-absorbed.
The first thing I wanted to kind of talk about with you is how the gym can become sort of, or any sport in general really, can become sort of a healthy coping mechanism as sort of an alternative to a lot of people when they're going through exam stress. They can turn to binge eating. I've noticed that's quite common at uni. Binge eating is one of the worst coping mechanisms that I've seen, and like the most common. And also alcoholism, obviously, turn into drugs, whatever. So how do you think that the gym and sport can help you sort of avoid those negative habits?
Yeah, I think, well, there's two aspects of it, okay? And if you just realize that using the gym you can use the gym as a coping mechanism, then you're less likely to go towards those things. So for me, if I'm pissed off, like a lot of the time, just like punching the punching bag might help me, or like just go to the gym, lift weights. I think if for me, it's like sometimes when I'm pissed off, the best thing I do is get a haircut and go to the gym. I'm not even joking. It's like for me, it's like I just get a therapy from it. It's like therapy, and if you're exposed to it, then you're less likely to go towards the negatives, which you can do, like go eat loads of food, drink loads of alcohol, because you already know that that's the way you can deal with something in a different way.
I think it's about sustainability as well.
Yeah,
like turn to binge eating or drinking, whatever. That will help you only maybe for like an hour. Then you have the massive come down. You feel awful afterwards. Whereas the gym is like healthy. You go, you sort out your stress, de-stress, release endorphins, but then also afterwards you feel great. You feel like a new person.
Yeah, I think it's always about discipline, isn't it? It's like if you've got a set of goals and you've set them for yourself, then no matter the circumstance, if you're motivated enough or driven enough, I don't want you to say motivated, because you're not motivated all the time. If you're disciplined enough, you'll be able to do the right things. So like if I've been going out on a consistent basis, at some point I'll just go, well, this isn't helping me in what I want to achieve, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to eat healthy food, because that's just going to make me feel better. And the thing is with binge eating, as you said, it's a very temporary dopamine rush, and I think it comes a lot of the reason why people struggle with their nutrition, or why they struggle with alcoholism, is they're seeking very temporary um satiations, okay? So like they want to be satisfied in a very small period of time. But for me, I'm always thinking, how am I going to feel after that night out? How am I going to feel after I eat that chocolate brownie or something like that, you know? So I think as soon as you hotwire your brain into being strictly like eating, drinking for performance, you kind of filter out all the other stuff. Like you're less likely to do things.
I think the trouble is sometimes for people, it's a lot easier to just reach for a pack of pack of Oreos or a pack of chocolate buttons or something just on the side. There is a lot more easily obtainable for that. Like you said, the quick rush. Like it doesn't last long, but it's there whenever you want it, sort of thing. It's the harder option is trying to go to the gym, be healthy, but in the long run, that'll like you'll reap the benefits of it.
Yeah, yeah. I think it comes down to, if you're like having a vision for yourself. I think that's the main thing. Like for me, if I want to feel good, and I know that if I eat a whole packet of crisps, which I could do, there's some days I'm like, I want to eat 2 burgers. Like
Yeah.
I want to go to McDonald's, but it's the discipline of going, no, I'm not going to do that. And
The thing is as well, just sorry to interrupt you,
that's okay.
but just I think it's not necessarily awful. Say like one day you think, oh yeah, I'll go to McDonald's. I'll have a McDonald's, whatever. If you're disciplined enough to just do it once, if you sort of plan for it, whatever, because you can have a healthy relationship with it as like a reward. But if you do it, it's when it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
Like you need the McDonald's and the unhealthy food to feel good, whatever. That's when it becomes dangerous. Whereas if you have a reward or a treat, I think it can work okay.
Well, it's like anything, isn't it? It's just,
Yeah, exactly.
it requires discipline. And it's like, say, if you have to understand there's a difference between failing and just like, I think a lot of people would be like, if they gave in, like what say if you've got a person who's on a diet, and then they mess up and say they have a pizza one night, okay,
Mhm.
because they're so like self-involved in the process, they're gonna go, oh, I failed. And a lot of the time what happens is they're like, oh, I already failed, so like tomorrow what I do doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah,
But
completely.
the thing is, it's failing, you actually fail on the second day. Okay, it's not the first day.
Yeah.
The first day you can have that pizza. The second day you've got an option to get up and get right back into the routine. Okay. Or you can just go and eat another pizza or go get
Yeah,
another takeaway. And
I think that's a really,
that's when you failed, I think. It's like on
that's
that
a very
second,
good
third
point.
day. Yeah. So I think, especially like I found, like even when you go on holiday, like eat what you want, live a balanced life. In order to be sustainable and anything you want, as we were talking about last week, this is a marathon, yeah? And it has to be sustainable, okay? So you have to be able to reward yourself, give yourself nice
Yeah.
things. So like if you go on holiday and don't work out for a week, fine, okay? But then as soon as you come back, get back into the swing of things, you know? And that's how you build over a long period of time. A lot
I
of
like quickly. I like how you say that, but whenever we go on we go on holiday, we're in the gym every other day.
Yeah, no, but I think that's the enjoyment. Like for some people, working
Yeah.
out isn't fun, but I enjoy it. So like I'll still do it and I think that's for me. That's why I've been quite, like, my progress has been good, and I think for you as well, because even on the days where like you are relaxing, for me going to the gym is like
It's fun. Yeah.
it goes back to what you're saying, like people falling into drugs. Like it's like Mike Tyson said it about Floyd Mayweather. He was like, Floyd will always have that, like if someone's going to fight him, it's always going to be a fight, because for him, he doesn't have heroin, or like he doesn't have like drugs. He has the gym, like he's a gym rat. And like I'm like that, you know, like I just want to be in I want to be in that groove, you know.
Yeah.
I am addicted to it. Like if I'm honest, I'm addicted to training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm addicted to feeling good about myself, which is quite important.
it's healthy, but the thing, it leads quite nicely onto what we wanted to talk about next as well. So there are a lot of people that kind of want to get to that stage, right? they want to get to the point where they can go to the gym and enjoy it, whatever. But sometimes taking the first steps into a gym for a lot of people be quite daunting. You see all these guys that have been there for years with massive muscles, whatever, probably on steroids, repping like 40 kg bench press, whatever. And you walk in and you can feel very small and very intimidated. And it's not very, that sort of sometimes puts people off from ever really going again or making it a habit. So what would you kind of advise for people in that situation? Because we were there one day as well. You go in for the first day and you're like, wow, everyone's a lot bigger than me. You think everyone knows what they're doing. You're just there kind of thing without a plan. So what would you do to kind of combat that?
I think the first thing you have to understand is everyone in a gym is trying to better themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, I think the nicest people I met in my entire life are the ones I've met in the gym. They're so approachable.
Sometimes people don't get that though, because they look scary, big and tats, but they are nice.
They're so approachable, and the reason why they're so approachable is I think a lot of like aggression and like people being unkind to each other comes through insecurity. And a lot of the people who have been training for a long time or like have become very secure in themselves. So when you're approaching someone, they're not going to react like, why are you talking to me? Like I'm better than you. No, because everyone understands that everyone's just trying to improve themselves, you know? And for, like, that's why, like, even now, like I've progressed, but like when people come ask me questions in the gym, I'm happy to give it to them, you know, like I take pleasure in that. And I feel like that's the same for other people, because it's not only okay, actually the thing is you have to be careful with it though, because people who keep coming up to you in the gym, like it is a place to work, so there is a balance.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
So like you have to, like, there is something called like gym etiquette. Like you can't just go up to someone while they're in the middle of their set, or like there's certain things like maybe in between sets you can go ask them a question. A lot of the time if you're walking into a gym, you'll find that people might come up to you, like the people who know what they're doing might come up to you and like teach you how to do stuff better. And then there are loads of gyms, so if you're not feeling comfortable in a certain one, then you can always move. There's also like, especially for girls, I know that girls, like at my uni, we had like 3 gyms. And I know that like a lot of girls would feel like uncomfortable training in the main one, like because they felt that people were looking at them, or like it was a very male dominated environment, like people wearing tank tops, like you know, like in the group, like in the zone, like, which I can understand seems like quite an unfriendly environment. But like the girls would go train in like the other gym. So like there are female only gyms which are quite nice for girls, I think, which is quite important. There's a lot of new like a lot with social media, there's a lot of coaching out there as well. So like even if it's through like Instagram or YouTube, finding people to help you, that's quite important.
I think what could help as well is when you first start going, if you just go with a friend, you just start build with a friend like from your level. That I think that especially can help, because you're both sort of going in from fresh. You both don't know what's going on. You kind of build and learn together. I think that can really help both of you become sort of more confident and become better friends.
Well, that's really good. Like especially even if it's like, it doesn't even have to be like one of your guy mates. Like say if you've got a girlfriend, then go to the gym with your girlfriend. Like and that's probably the best thing, because you can see, I've seen like a lot of times like certain relationships will break up because one person is doing a lot more than the other. But if you're like able to go together and like build together, then that's quite good. Like, and you're building a healthy environment, because then a lot of the people around you, or like in your close proximity, are doing very similar things, and then you push each other forward. So I think that like it doesn't like have to be like, I think a lot of people think that it has to be like, oh, I just have to go train with like the most jacked guy. Like if you're starting from square one, just go with a friend. Make it an enjoyable experience. And as I said, like most people in the gym are just trying to better themselves. For me, it's like a very happy place, you know. That's and it goes back to like why I wouldn't go out clubbing or like going out drinking rather than going to the gym, because for me, a lot of people will be like, oh, you went to the gym on a Friday night, but like it's a happy place for me. Like I'm happy to be there. You know, like I'd rather be like, sometimes I'd rather be there, because sometimes it gets back to like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning on a night out and you're like, what am I even doing? Like, so unproductive, or this is so like I just want to be in bed. Like I'm 20 years old and I have the mind of like a 40-year-old because I want to look at my sleep more than anything, you know.
Yeah. So I think that sort of attitude or that sort of fear, like the general term, like imposter syndrome, I
Yeah.
think that can be to a lot of things like the world of work as well. Like you recently started a work placement this year or whatever.
Yeah.
So you'll probably know what I'm talking about more than me. So how did you feel when you kind of had to step into a new environment and you were like, what's going on? What's going on here? There's kind of no one to help you. There's no real support. You're kind of just on your own in a work trying to get along. So how did you kind of get over that? So away from the gym in a sort of professional standpoint.
Okay, yeah. So I think there's two things here. For me, I definitely did have imposter syndrome. Yeah, I did.
Mm-hmm.
I joined, and especially if it's your like first job. I was like,
Yeah.
they were doing like crazy stuff, like so, like obviously the work environment is completely different to like being in school or like being at university. And it was quite scary because you're going like they've all been. You have to think that it's like even going to the gym when you like look at someone who's 10 years ahead of you or 20 years ahead of you. They just seem like they have like they know what's going on. And
Yeah.
if you're surrounded by loads of people who just like they've got their shit together, then like it can be quite intimidating, which is very similar to what you were talking about walking into the gym the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So like in that case, it can be quite, yeah, it was stressful. And I remember the first 2 weeks, I was like, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mess up, and as soon as I mess up, they might fire me. Like I literally felt like that. That was how I felt, you know. And I think that one thing you have to understand is that everyone starts as a white belt in whatever activity you're doing. And
Yeah.
for me, it's
Like
just
the gym, like sports, you have to keep turning up.
you
That's
just
the only way to improve,
yeah,
and that's
that's
the
the
only
only way you get
way.
you. The thing is, you turn up and you put maximum effort into everything. Okay, that's the way, and people recognize that. And the most time, as you put maximum effort into everything, then more opportunities come and stuff like that because people respect people who do hard stuff or work very hard. And I think that that's something I didn't like about school, or like even you, a lot of people will call you like keen nowadays for working really hard, but like it doesn't make any sense. Like
Yeah.
it's just like, and I think again that comes from insecurity that we were talking about last week.
Yeah.
Uh, but the and then the second thing that I think that helped me was being or like trying to be very outgoing. And that was something that
Mhm.
helped me like at university as well. Like in first year, like I kind of went in with like no filter,
Yeah.
because you kind of want to put yourself out there, and like learn the most, and use it as like a learning experience as well. It's not the end all be all. So I think that's quite important. But like it definitely was a scary experience, you know, and it gets to a point where you're like, as I said, you feel like anxious. Like I'm quite a confident person. Like you know me, like I'm in terms of like what I can achieve, I'm quite confident. But like even then, for me, I was like, this one of the scariest things I've done in my life. You know, like
Yeah.
I felt it's I felt like a very small fish. That was how.
Yeah.
Um, and I think as long as you have good people in your workplace who are like looking to help you or look for your progression, like I've definitely been very lucky with who I'm working with because
Yeah.
they always like check in on me. My boss is a very, very nice person to have around. So he's like always making sure I'm fine, making sure like I've got enough work, making sure I'm happy with the work I'm doing, stuff like that. Uh,
Yeah.
which is quite important because I think like I've heard of people having like really bad interview experiences where like say an interviewer is not very nice to them or their boss isn't very nice to them. But you have to think like you spend the majority of your life working. So
Mm.
if you're not happy with the people you're working with, then that's a really big problem. Or if they're not treating you the right way or like making you feel insecure,
Yeah.
then I don't think that that's where you'd probably want to be working. It's the same thing
Just
with
just to rewind a bit as well, what you said about people saying, "Oh, you're too keen," whatever, trying to bring you down. I think you have to kind of grow thick skin.
Yeah.
You have to like really care what people say. It's like even starting, it's like, again, starting the gym, whatever. People might say, why are you doing that? There's no point, whatever. You just can't afford to listen to that. But even when we were thinking of like starting the podcast or whatever, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, what are people going to think of this? What if people make fun of me or whatever? And I had to just tell myself, no, you've got to go for it. You've only got one life. You may as well, even if nothing comes from it, if you've got to try stuff just to know that nothing could come from it, you know?
Yeah.
If you never, you'll regret it.
Yeah.
So
It's
for me though, all of my friends have been like extremely supportive of it. And I think that's just a benefit of surrounding yourself with the right people as well.
Yeah. I think that's quite important because I've definitely been in certain situations where I'm working really hard and someone goes like, they almost like shame you into that. It's not like I had like a person around me recently who would be like, why are you working so hard all the time? Saying like, they'd say like stuff like, oh, you hate like having fun. And it wasn't like, and it was quite like, it got to me, it was like quite boring, like just the same.
It's draining. People around.
Yeah, and it was just like a very negative environment. Like, and I'd go into a room and I'd be like, I kind of hope I wouldn't see that person because of how negative that mindset was. And like, just the way, like, it doesn't make you feel that great either, like being around that person. So having thick skin is quite important.
Yeah.
You're only going to keep doing stuff. Like if you live your life based on what people think you're going to do, you're going to be nothing more than those people. Like you're going to be nothing greater than those people around you. Whereas if you surround yourself with people who are pushing you forward, then the sky's the limit, really. And like that's the same thing with like with the podcast, with like the Instagram page and stuff like that. It's like if the people who are close to you are putting you down for doing something or putting yourself out there, then they're not really your friends.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that you should have them around you. And
the thing as well, I think we have to be careful as well. We're not just saying you want to be surrounded by yes men all the time. You just don't want to be surrounded by people that are being negative for no reason, or just for the reason of trying to bring you down, sort of thing. If you have good friends that will give you advice or say when something's not working, I think that's just as valuable as people giving you sort of positive feedback and support in that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line between both though, because you can have people who will just criticize you for no reason, or like, well, and it's really it's a self-reflection of themselves.
I think you have to become like a good judge of that though, don't you?
Yeah.
You have to judge helping you and who's just trying to negatively impact.
I think that it comes a lot easier when you're being a kind person. Okay, I think this is the things that help me. You have to try and be the nicest person possible, okay, whilst being the most ruthless possible. And what I mean by that is you're getting out and doing everything that's possible. So you're working the hardest you can, and you're just putting everything into whatever you're doing. And then if someone can criticize that, then that criticism doesn't matter because you've just put in like everything. Whereas if you're half-assing something and someone's criticizing you, then maybe you deserve to be criticized.
Yeah, exactly.
So like if I was slacking off, say I stopped going to the gym and stuff, and then you maybe said, Ayush, you've got a bit fat or you've got a bit skinny, you need to get your shit together, then I shouldn't have a reason to be sensitive to it. I should go, well, I'm just going to get my shit together. And I think that's the thing, that an issue with a lot of people that struggle or like fall back into bad habits. So like like fat shaming gets quite a bad rep, like obviously, and I don't think that you should be putting someone down, especially if you don't know them. Like I hate it when I see someone putting someone down in like Instagram comments or something who they don't know.
Like man management though. You sort of, if you know your friend, you'll know how to sort of motivate them to make a change or whatever. You have to know whether they'll react to sort of someone who's going to put their arm around them, comfort them, whatever, and that will encourage them to get better. Or if someone needs like a push, like you saying you're getting a bit of whatever, you've lost a bit of muscle. So for you, that would work, but you have to be sensitive to, I think, to like what motivates other people, because it could just have a negative impact, even if you're trying to be helpful, sort of thing. I think depending on the person's mentality, you just have, that's why you should, like you said, like you can't do it to strangers. You kind of just have to stick to trying to motivate friends. Know them, you know what's going to help them along the way, sort of thing.
It's not even that, like, you shouldn't do it to strangers. You don't know that person.
Okay? Yeah, exactly.
But I think what you said is quite important. So you should only criticize your friends, and if they're your, like, the people you care about. And that should always be constructive criticism. If you're giving criticism for no reason, then I would call you a bad friend. Okay.
Yeah.
You're a bad friend. But I think what you said was important about knowing who you're dealing with. Okay. And someone told me this a long time ago. They went, some people are like fire and some people are like water. Okay. And if criticism is fire, if you add fire onto fire, you get an explosion. Okay. So I would say I'm in the fire category. You call me fat or you call me skinny, I'm just going to go and try get rid of that issue. Okay. That's fire. If you're like water and you add fire to water, you kind of dose it out. So if you call someone fat who's in that water category, instead of like sorting out their situation, they might start feeling sorry for themselves and just go dig themselves a deeper hole, which is, so you definitely need to know who you're dealing with. And it was also like what we were talking about last week about the victim and the warrior mentality, that the victim one is going to be like, oh, you call me fat, there's something wrong, like he's not being very nice to me, instead of actually holding up a mirror to themselves and realizing that person's just trying to help you. So I think that's quite important, but it goes both ways as well. And I think in order to be successful, you really need to transition from that water person to the person who's a bit fiery. Like you need to be able to have a bit of a chip on your shoulder. And because if you think that everyone's going to be nice to you, or if it's like what you said about yes men, if your friends are always being nice to you, and not like putting a mirror up in your face when you're acting out, or not being a very nice person, then there's a deep issue. And this is what I think it kind of relates to. It's not really the topic of what we talk about normally, but in terms of like the spiking incidents in nightclubs, and how like what would you call it, like the toxic masculinity in groups that's kind of leading towards these things happening, where guys kind of egg each other on. And if you've got a group of especially males who have like very high, like who are just kind of just having like a cockfighting contest, then, and you don't have someone who's going to be like, no, this is not right, and that's when you get really big problems, you know. So I think it's quite important to have surround yourself with like-minded people, the right people who are kind. And I think that's quite difficult in today's situation, because a lot of the time those people might not be the most popular.
I think sometimes you just have to be able to criticize yourself as well. I think that's the most important thing.
Sorry.
I have to edit. But I think you just have to be able to sort of criticize yourself almost. Like if you have to realize when something's wrong, right? Only you realize that and change it. No matter what anyone says to you, whatever kind of mindset you have, if you need an arm around you, sometimes you won't have an arm around you. If you need someone to motivate you, you won't always have that either. So you have to either be able to like motivate, you have to be able to motivate yourself effectively. Mm-hmm. So that's quite vital in improving in all aspects.
That was why there was a lot of people breaking up or getting out of relationships after the COVID lockdowns got lifted, because you saw a lot of people get into relationships that they shouldn't have probably been in the lockdown, because they're so reliant on having another person to like help them through situations. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as that stuff got lifted, then it was like, oh, maybe I'm with the wrong person. And it's the same thing with your friends. Like if you're keeping friends around just for the sake of having friends around, then
Yeah,
you need to kind of sort yourself out a little bit, you know?
yeah,
And it's easier said than done because I think it can lead to a lot of loneliness,
yeah,
especially if you're doing stuff that, or you're not in certain situations where people aren't doing similar things to you. So like I've been quite blessed to have a lot of friends who do work out and stuff like that. But I know for a lot of people that it can be quite difficult because if your friends are going out drinking or like doing other stuff and you're like, oh, I just want to go to the gym by myself,
yeah.
it can become a quite lonely environment. Um,
I
so like,
think that kind of a nice route into the next subject.
what was the next
So
point?
yeah, that links quite nicely into the next thing we kind of wanted to discuss, right? So it's about following your dream and kind of having to go solo sometimes, whatever,
Yeah,
following what you want to do, but also something that we kind of not disagree on, but we both have different opinions on whatever.
yeah,
The importance of having sort of a backup plan. So for instance, say a sports player in an academy gets injured, has nothing left or whatever.
hmm,
But you sort of have a different. I want to hear yours first, effectively, and
yeah,
then I'll say my opinion on it, and we can sort of come to some sort of middle ground.
yeah. So I think I do understand where it's like you should have a backup or a plan B. Okay. But the issue with having a plan B is that if you've always got something else in the back of your mind, then you're likely not to put full effort into what you actually really want. And I know for a lot of people, if you've got a plan B, then you kind of lose the stress of your initial idea not turning out the right way. And I think for a lot of people, stress leads to hard work, and then hard work leads to success. Okay.
That almost links back to sort of the whole fire and water thing, though, right?
Mm,
It's different. Some people will thrive with that stress of knowing they have to get that and they have tunnel vision for that goal, right?
yeah.
But some people might not like that stress, and that might cause them to underperform in their pursuit of their ultimate goal.
Yeah.
I think if someone sometimes some people might need security, knowing they have a backup, and then they can put all of their effort into that thing that they really want, knowing that they have a safety net, sort of thing.
Yeah. But do you think you can be successful and be the water there? That's something I'm trying to get my head around because I don't know if you can.
The
Because
war.
if you're someone who's gonna be need that backup, it kind of sounds to me that you need that sense of comfort. And you have to understand that in order to be successful in anything, you have to be able to take risks. And
Yeah, it's necessarily a sense of comfort, though. It's kind of just having a backup so you can take the risk. Like you're almost affording yourself the opportunity to take the risk, and
yeah,
then you have back on, if that makes sense.
that's definitely true. I'm not against either way. Like
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think that it's bad. Like I definitely would have a backup because
yeah,
I think, but it also comes with your sense of how many opportunities you have.
yeah.
Okay.
It comes with
Like,
background, like what's open to you. Sometimes you can't, you literally can't have a backup option.
yeah,
Like
sometimes,
we were
yeah.
talking beforehand in our notes, like Conor McGregor, whatever. He had literally nothing else, so obviously he had to be tunnel vision.
Yeah, I think like Connor's story is one that emulates with a lot of people. I think it's why he's been quite successful. I know that
Mm.
now a lot of the other stuff has kind of taken over, but if you look at his initial story, then you're looking at someone who's come from absolutely nothing. And
Mm.
the reason why he was able to put in a lot of work or more work than other people was because he wasn't exposed to to the sense of comfort that a lot of people have. And it's also
Yeah,
you see that a lot of successful people aren't the ones that have come from loads of money or the people people look up to aren't the ones who've come from a lot of money or have like lived in an amazing house, you know, or being like had everything they've wanted. And the reason is that it kind of puts a chip on your shoulder when you haven't had those things to be able to push forward. And I think that if you have a backup, then it kind of you kind of lose that edge slightly. And it depends how good your backup is, because he did have a backup, okay? So his backup was plumbing. And you know that the income from being a plumber in Ireland at that time was absolutely nothing. Like, he was on social welfare. So, like, it depends how satiating your backup is. Because say like you want to become a pro football player, okay, and earn a ridiculous amount of money, but then your backup is also to be a doctor. There's not much leeway between, well, obviously the salaries are still drastically different, but then,
Yeah.
but your
But the
lifestyle
doctor,
as a doctor is still going to be quite a comfortable one. So like, it's quite, you could literally just go, oh, it doesn't make a difference, I'm just going to drop, because your marginal utility, or your
see,
marginal
see,
happiness from the difference between them isn't that great. Whereas if it's huge, like from that plumber to becoming the world's highest paid athlete, you're gonna go full steam ahead, you know.
that almost kind of links though. I kind of have almost a counter example to that.
Mm-hmm.
To play devil's advocate for a second. One of my like biggest idols growing up, Didier Drogba, played for Chelsea, one of the best footballers in the world, whatever, at the time. He didn't start playing football or pursuing it as a profession until much later than other kids. I think it was 21 or so.
Yeah.
Because his school forced him to have a solid education beforehand, and then only after he knew he had that sort of security and safety net of a job, if he didn't make it in football, then he could go and pursue being a footballer. And he still had that sort of hunger, even though he was kind of sure of a good paying job, even if he didn't make it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it just does depend on the person. Like, it depends what you need to motivate you.
Yeah.
If that makes
The thing is, I think you have to be motivated by happiness. If you're
Yeah.
motivated by the comfortable lifestyle or the income, then you're less likely to go do stuff that maybe other people wouldn't. You know, you'll end up in that rut that everyone seems to be in, and you don't want to be like. For me, I think I want to be an outlier. I don't want to be ordinary. You know, like, life is, you only get one of these. Okay, only one of these goes around. And I was talking to my mum about this yesterday, and me and my mum had differing opinions. I said to her, I was like, if you were given an opportunity to go live in a really, like, the weather is freezing in London at the moment, like, it's absolutely cold, and for me, it does my head in, like, it kind of, the weather is definitely has an impact on your mood. So I was having a conversation, I was like, if you had the opportunity to go live somewhere else, would you? And my mom was like, well, you've got like certain responsibilities and all of this, which is fine. But then I was also thinking, you do only live once, and if you don't want to take that risk of moving elsewhere or taking that job somewhere else just because you're comfortable where you are, then you're kind of not living. Well, in my head, I don't.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, just to quickly play devil's advocate again, but I think life is kind of like you said, you only have one. So I think you've got to do whatever makes you happy, really, however you find happiness. For some people, that could just be what you consider the rut. That could be sort of happiness for them. But I
Yeah.
feel like as long as you're happy, you've got a stable job, you're not struggling. I think as long as you personally are enjoying life, I think that's like the ultimate success, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I was reading this the other day. I'd never actually thought about it until I read this, but there's something called like sensitivity to dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
And so like a lot of people are quite insensitive to dopamine, which means that, so like like a normal day could mean that they're quite happy, you know, but for me, like, I kind of have to seek other stuff to feel good, like to be happy, which is why, like, I think when people were like, why do you want to go run 10K? For me,
Yep.
it's like giving me that little dopamine boost at the end, like those endorphins that you get, like, and I feel that because I'm insensitive to dopamine, I feel like I'm more likely to be one of those people who will take or will want to be out that comfortable stuff, because
Mm-hmm.
like, it's like normal life is kind of like that, you know. and then there's some highs, some downs, but like you're not. For me, I kind of want. I don't know. I kind of want more than that. So like I
Yeah.
go seek other stuff, and
Mhm.
I don't know. So, but like then again, what we were talking about with like um not having the right people around you or feeling lonely because you are seeking those things, that can happen. So like,
Yeah.
and it's definitely a balance, and it's one that I'm trying to figure out. I think it's one that you're trying to figure out.
Well,
Uh,
it's one though, I think, that links again to surrounding yourself with the right like-minded people.
yeah,
So like I see you trying to succeed, I want to kind of emulate that, and probably vice versa. So I think that's kind of important so that you don't feel lonely
yeah,
as you're kind of going on your own path. You want to surround yourself with people that are going on a similar path, if
yeah.
that
And
makes
I think like a lot of people will be like, why aren't you going out tonight, or why aren't you like meeting up with a group of people? Like, and it can be frustrating because you're like, well, I could, but
yeah.
I don't want to because I've got other plans. Like I'm planning to improve myself.
Mm.
Like that's for me, that's quite important. And there is definitely a balance, and I'm definitely on the wrong end of the like I'm on the other end of the spectrum. Okay, as you said, like on the holiday I'll work out. You're probably similar. Like, and so having people around you who are on the same like wavelength as you is quite important. But then again, when you're meeting new people or you're put in certain situations, it can be more difficult. Like for me, like I've already obviously got my friends who I've known for ages. But then if you're as you meet new people, you need to learn how to filter out the ones who probably don't want the best of you. And that comes with getting older. Because once you leave school, you get to university, you meet new people, then you start a job, you meet even more people. So you're always like building this network, and
Yeah.
you need like that network of people to be extremely supportive of you.
I feel like, yeah, as you say, as you get older, I feel like you'll come into contact with a lot more people as you go up in the world. You'll come into, or you'll experience a lot more people that don't want the best for you, sort of thing. A lot more. I think you'll have more interactions with a lot more fake people as you go into the world of work or whatever.
Yeah, it's quite sad really because
Out filtering people out.
yeah, it's quite sad, and it's something that I don't like about our society. It's like it's a constant rat race that people just aren't happy for other people to succeed, and
Mm.
it's quite sad that that's the way it's turned out. Like I've seen like it's like you got it in school, and it's almost ingrained in us because like your parent will ask you like, what did this other kid get in school, or like how's your other friend doing, which happens to a lot of people, or like and then you kind of like pitch yourself against other people, and then it kind of keeps going on. It's like who's making the most money, who has the nicest car, who has the nicest house, who's going out with the prettiest girl. It's like that's stuff like that. You kind of people pitch themselves against each other, and it can turn nasty. And like
Mm.
having being able to judge the people who don't want the best for you is really important. Like I had
Yeah.
a person who like I almost thought it was my friend, and then one time like we were just having like a discussion, and then that person is like kind of like throws like a certain failure in my face,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, you're not really my friend.
Yeah.
You're not like I don't want you around me anymore. And for me,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd say I'm quite I wouldn't say I'm sensitive to that, but I'm very good at like I'll just cut you off. Like I don't want
Yeah.
you around me, and I think that that's quite important. And people struggle to do that. And like
Yeah.
I've had conversations with people who are say like in a bad relationship or like want to get out of their relationship, and they're like,
Hmm.
what should I do? And for me, it's fucking simple. It's like just get rid of them. And like I don't think people have that mindset. And I know people will be like, you're cold, or like that's a cold way of living.
Yeah.
I think you kind of have to think about yourself a lot of the time. And
Yeah. No.
it's not selfish because you only get one life. Okay, so surround it with people that you want to be around. And
Yeah.
trust me, as you put yourself out there, as you improve, you'll filter out the ones that you don't want to. And I found it quite funny because people used to take the piss out of me that I was always going to the gym and stuff. But like, and in the last year or so, a lot of those people have come back and been like, "Oh my God, you're like,
For advice or whatever.
yeah," and I'm like, and or like, "Oh my God, you've done really well." But then when I was
Yeah,
putting the graft in, a lot of those people weren't supportive of me.
yeah. It's
And
like I think that almost links to a kind of the human nature. It's like if you think about it, everyone loves seeing an underdog, right?
mm,
They're seeing someone grow and succeed. But when someone gets to the top, people only want to see them fall, fall back down again. It's
yeah,
like that's a toxic
it's
sort of
it's
trait that the world has developed.
it's quite sad, and it's like yeah, and again it goes to that rat race. It's like no one wants anyone to succeed. Or like
Yeah,
I think the majority of people don't want other people to succeed, and it's quite a negative world. Um,
yeah,
and it's like and it's you have to get yourself out of that. Like it is jealousy, and
yeah.
in order to be successful, you have to think, why are you so focused on what other people are doing? And
Mm,
I think that once you start focusing on yourself and the people who are really close to you,
yeah,
that's when you're going to see the most progress in anything, because
yeah,
it's a waste of energy to be focused, to be unkind to someone, to be um
yeah.
to put them down.
I think
It's a waste.
really it's really important to have your sort of group of friends, your group of support, and you kind of just stick with that group. You'll meet new people, you'll make your network, obviously, but
Yeah,
I think that close network of like really good friends that you know you can trust, I think that's really important to
yeah,
have in like any walk of life.
yeah, and I think that that's something that's helped me a lot, because I've got you, I've got other people. Like I'd say I know a lot of people, okay, but I'd say out of everyone, there's only 5 or 6 people that I could, well, maybe even less. I'd say there's only like 4 or 5 people
Really trust.
who I'd really trust, who I'd really want around me. Like a lot of times
Yeah,
I'm in a big group and I'm like, I'd rather just be like with my 2 best mates. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That's a lot of the time how I feel. And
yeah,
I think that for me, that's made it a lot easier to filter out the ones that I don't want around me, because I'm able to go, well, I've already got my group of friends. But then
yeah,
what would you specifically say to someone who's maybe slightly lonely, doesn't have that support system, or doesn't have that group of people that they can talk to? Like men's mental health is quite a big thing,
mhm,
and it's something that comes from a lot of loneliness, I think, in for males, because guys don't know how to talk to their
yeah,
friends, or don't know how to open up, uh,
yeah,
because of that toxic masculinity. And I think that what would you say to someone who's struggling with being slightly lonely, or not having that support network, about filtering out the bad people? Because for them, it could be quite easy just to fall into the wrong group,
mm,
or or
mm,
then in the other case, if they are being mentally strong, just even exacerbate that loneliness because they don't want to meet,
yeah.
they're struggling to meet new people who are like-minded, you
I
know?
think I think you've just got to, in that scenario, you've got to reach out for help. Like there's a lot of help available nowadays, and you just have to, like, society's evolving slowly, albeit with men's health, but there's a lot more help out there now. I
Yeah.
think it's all about, in that case, like identifying that you maybe have a problem.
Mhm.
You have to accept that first of all, and obviously that it's difficult. It's very easy to just sit here and say reach out to someone, whatever, talk to someone, but a lot of men do struggle with that, right?
Yeah.
uh, but it is honestly the best thing you can do, and it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of bravery, but you have to make that first step to reach out. And if you don't have that friend group, there are so many different like organizations, charity organizations you can call now, or like go to therapy, whatever. You just have to be proactive. Like
Yeah.
that's the only
I
way to
think
solve.
that's quite important. Like, say if you are someone in that situation, then an advice like I wouldn't. I'm not a therapist, obviously, and I'm
Yeah,
not a qualified professional about talking about this stuff. But if when you're like going to the gym and you're meeting new people, then
yeah,
try get their contact details. Try build a network of people in positive situations that you want to spend time with, because I promise you that a lot of people would be happy to talk to you or just be
mm,
like be a friend, because we were talking about this last week. People need people, and
mm.
like if you're surrounding yourself with that positive influence and you're making an effort being kind to people, other people are just gonna, like, maybe I have too much faith in humans, but I feel that that people will respect that and want to be around you because you are a nice person and you're
Yeah.
aiming for high things.
Mm. I think that is a really important point. So if if anyone's listening and they are struggling or anything, going through something, our DMs are always open.
Yeah,
But
no,
you
like, yeah, honestly, like I've had friends who've struggled with stuff like this,
yeah,
and they haven't told me, and then they've told me after the fact. We both have, uh,
yeah,
and it's like I know that I would have hoped I would have done everything possible to make that person feel better.
yeah,
And so, like, if you are someone in that situation, talk to your friends.
yeah.
Like,
And what like you said with the gym, I think it's all about community sometimes. It doesn't have to necessarily be in the gym, but if you just find something you enjoy, like say even gaming, like online gaming, you can make friends with people online that have the same interest as you.
yeah,
Just have a group of friends with similar interests will benefit you to no end, effectively.
yeah, definitely. And I think it's like, yeah, online gaming, going to classes, and I
Um,
actually I encourage people to get into martial arts.
yeah,
It's something that I really, because there's one thing about learning with some, like, I think in a lot of sports you're not really learning with another person. Okay, like it's almost like what skills can I do, like what can I do, what can I, but then with martial arts in order to learn you're always requiring someone else to be able to help you. Like you need
yeah,
someone to hold the pads for you. You need to like understand where you're putting your hands to get a certain movement or get a certain position right. And that's quite the fact that that's quite codependent builds a bond with other people that I
mm,
don't think a lot of other sports do. And it also makes you a more secure person, because a lot of the hardest training I've ever done has been martial arts training. And
yeah.
it not only makes you a tougher person, it makes you a more secure person, and it makes you a kinder person because you understand that there's no need to be aggressive or not to be an unkind person.
It's like it's
Yeah.
like football or rugby or any team sport and stuff as well. It's like when you're training alongside people, you instantly sort of form that network because you instantly know you have the same interests.
Yeah,
You're
you have something in common. It's
and you'll improve in the same thing.
it's like, why do drug addicts become friends with other drug addicts?
That's not
No,
that's
no,
not the real.
that's obviously the negative thing. But
Okay.
like again, like if you want to get out of being someone like that,
You
then
can't surround
you
other
can't
people.
surround yourself with people who are like that. You need to surround yourself with people who like other things or who are as you want to be. So if you want to be extremely healthy, take care of your health,
Yeah.
maybe not going out every weekend, then find friends who have similar interests in that, or like ones that go to
Mhm.
the gym, eat, like enjoy. Like for me, sometimes I'd rather say like rather than go out, I'd rather both of us like had a good gym session, like which we
Yeah.
have done in the past, go get some food after. That's like
Yeah.
quite a good experience for me. And
The
so
hill
like,
sprints weren't such a good experience when we did them, to be fair.
what did you say?
The hill sprints weren't such a good
Oh,
experience.
yeah, I do them every Sunday. They're disgusting. Wait, which ones? The stairs or the
Both. Remember the
the
lockdown
hill?
one?
The hill, that Potter Street Hill is a nasty. I don't know what it is about that thing. That is disgusting. Like I obviously do the stairs every,
Yeah.
and that's hard. But
That is hard.
the Potter Street Hill sprinting up that thing is that was like absolutely disgusting. And I
That
don't,
was
yeah.
that.
But it's good afterwards. Again, you get that endorphin
No, it's good.
rush.
Yeah.
You definitely feel amazing after you do something extremely hard.
I think that's quite a nice way to sort of wrap the main discussion up, because we've been rambling for quite a while. But kind of what I wanted to just finish up on, I think is a nice way to wrap up this episode, is just both of our sort of future dreams, what we want to achieve, and how our dreams are sort of evolved over the years. So like if you wanna open up first.
Yeah, you know what? I'm still trying to figure it out, and I think
everyone's sort of our age is in the same boat. To be fair,
and it's like I definitely want to do something that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? The thing is, I feel like you've said future dreams, and I've just completely delved into the career aspect of it, and which is I don't think it's sad, but I should.
No, it's still valid.
I don't think it should. I don't know. I think I should go to both. Like for me, success is being happy on a daily basis. Like if I'm able to wake up every morning and be like, I'm glad to be alive. Like this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
My day looks how I want it to be.
Yeah.
That will be success in my mind. Being around people that I want to be around, doing
Yeah.
certain work that I want to do, like that I enjoy, that maybe provides positive impact. The one thing that I really like about this podcast, having my Instagram account, is that you can reach people that maybe don't know you, or like
Yeah.
even people who do, who might be scared to ask for advice, but you're just able to give it to them without them asking for it. And that's something that that it's definitely become quite satisfying. Like I never used to understand like content creation, people making loads of content, especially it's kind of been diluted now on TikTok. Like I saw like a girl, like there was literally just a video of a girl standing and like while music was playing, and it got like 150,000 likes, and I was like, great, like what? It doesn't.
That can be depressing sometimes, because obviously reels you put quite a bit of effort into them.
Yeah.
And then just that is like
it's not I don't get bogged down by it, but it kind of just shows where our society's going.
It is easy to get bogged down for some people by that though.
Yeah, it is weird. Like sometimes I'm like but it's weird because you're dealing with an algorithm as well. But like I'll put like loads of effort into a video, and I get like no, but it's funny as well, because sometimes I'll make a video in like 3 minutes. Like I'm not even joking. I won't put any effort into it, and it'll get like 4K views on Instagram. Oh, I didn't put effort. And then one I'll put loads of effort in, gets barely anything. And I think it's the way it is. You have to be consistent with it. I've realized that content creation is something that I really enjoy. Like this stuff, just having like this podcast is like so satisfying to me. Like
no, it is.
I not only get to talk to one of my best mates about stuff that's quite close to me.
I
get to reach other people, and that's the same with the Instagram page. And for me, money is important. Being financially secure is important. But if I can do that, doing something that has a positive impact,
that's like the dream.
doing stuff that would be my dream. Yeah.
I think that I'm pretty much the same as you. And like in terms of the financial thing, just quickly, I think it was my mum or my dad that always used to tell me, it's like the day you can walk into a restaurant, like any restaurant, and not worry about the price of anything on the menu, that's when you know you've made it, sort of thing. I think that's quite a good way of looking at it.
Yeah,
but
that's important. I think that so people are like money doesn't matter. A lot of people say that, but
it does. It definitely matters.
It does. And someone said this. They were like, a unhappy rich person, or okay, I'm not going to say rich. I don't like the word. An unhappy financially secure person will always be happier than an unhappy person who doesn't have that ability. walk in, because it kind of just opens up so many doors
Yeah,
that not being able to do that doesn't. So like
yeah,
that's quite important, because you can kind of realize, you can figure out what you've got more opportunities to figure out what does
yeah,
make you happy when you have that, you know.
yeah. I think for me, it's
For
kind of
someone, for someone like we can build this podcast. We've both got a
yeah,
laptop and a phone. You know,
yeah,
some people don't have that opportunity. You know, like you don't
yeah,
think about it that way.
yeah. I think just to just to tie things up a bit, I think for me personally, I think I'm pretty much in agreement with you. I think life is all just about finding what you enjoy, finding what makes you happy. And I think if you can pursue that and kind of make a living out of it, I think that's that's effectively living the dream, really, isn't it? And keeping your friends close. I think if you can keep making an effort to keep in contact with the people that are close to you and important to you is absolutely huge, not only for like growing as a person, because you need those people around you as your bubble of support,
Mhm.
but also just to keep you happy and sane. Like it can be, like we touched on earlier, it can be a long and sort of lonely road when you're trying to make it somewhere, but
Yeah.
if you have someone or some people by your side, it's huge. That can be the difference between making it and not making it, really, in my opinion.
Yeah. You only get one of these. Okay.
Exactly.
You only get one of these. Surround yourself with the best people possible. Make sure they make you feel good about yourself, and make sure you
Yeah.
enjoy every moment. Because one thing that I think helps me is my realization that none of this is actually real. Like it's not. It's
Was
no,
that
it's not. It's not.
very,
It's
very weird?
completely, and none of it is. And you need to put the effort in to understand that. In that case, just put everything you have.
Yeah.
Just do
So
it.
from, I think what you're trying to say is like from, if like life is kind of like meaningless, really, in the grand scheme
Yeah,
of things,
it's
isn't it?
not. We get one of them. You were born, and someday you're gonna go, and you
Exactly.
have a night's
Have one. You've got to go for what you want.
when you've gone, no one's gonna worry about what car you had, like how much money you had, all of this. No, they're gonna worry about how you made other people feel and what positive impact you had on them.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what builds good relationships, and I think that's that will build a good life, you know, and a happy one.
So in conclusion, I think what we can say is keep your good friends and family close, and do what you want to do
Yeah.
and enjoy. So
Okay.
there we go.
We'll sign it off there. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. It was a deep one. It was it was definitely a lot deeper than last week. It was very
Yeah.
this was a very deep one. And like please, if you're feeling as we discussed, not maybe just not feeling that great. Our DMs are always open if you don't, but like if you don't end up seeking professional advice. But I would recommend, please do. There are so many. I think me and Michael might do some research on some places where you could go for help, and we'll put them in the bio, because it is something that's really important. But then again, both of our DMs are definitely open, and even if you don't know us. So yeah, please. And
Cool.
next week, if you would like to come on the podcast, I said this last week. If you would like to come, or if you have something interesting you would like to share with us, please message us and we will try to get back to you. And any questions or anything you would like us to discuss, because at the moment, me and Michael are just going off judgment. So if you actually want something or want us
Yeah,
to talk about something, we'll do it.
like,
What'd you say?
we want other opinions, effectively, not
Yeah,
just
because
just
it would be nice to hear how other people
yeah,
do some of this stuff. And as you can tell, we're not going at each other about certain when we have disagreements, which is what I quite like about this podcast. And I think people need to understand that. So even if you have an opinion, maybe you don't agree with us, come just share your opinion, you know. Okay, cool. We'll sign it off there. We'll see you next week.